Experience is always better in a group. The Christian experience doubly so. We're just a group of gamers that love to talk about life, God, and video games, in no particular order. So whether you're a newbie or a grizzled ancient like us, we want to help each other roll the level. Welcome to another edition of the Roll the Level podcast. We are so excited to be here. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by my fellow hosts. Sarah, how are you doing this evening?
I'm pretty hype.
Yeah, you're pretty hype? Why are you pretty hype?
Because we're back.
We are back.
It's been a while.
I'm so excited. So excited to be back. It's good to be back. It's very good to be back. And Dame, how are you doing, buddy?
Whew, that is a loaded question, my friend. But I'm with Sarah. I'm stupid hyped to be here tonight because it is an evening that we're recording.
It is, which is weird.
Yeah.
And we're also trying something new, too, which is always fun.
Absolutely.
The pre-show was very fun. The hour pre-show was fun of sciencing all of the things. But
Truth.
But hey, you know what? We're
science.
here and we're doing this. And
Yes, we are.
And for those of you who are tuning into the audio podcast, we're actually trying video out here, and Matt is gonna try to patchwork everything all together. And
Good luck.
I shouldn't say patchwork because that makes it sound like it's like a quote unquote custom shop special thing.
It may very well be by the time I'm done, let's be honest. It may be very patchwork. It may be patches by the time I'm done. So
all right,
it'll be good. But so yeah, we are very excited. We're trying some new stuff out. It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
We've been intentionally away doing a lot of life things, which we'll share over the next few episodes, which is really good. But let's do just a quick kind of round of updates on how everybody's been doing. Sarah, how has summer been for you?
Pretty terrible.
Pretty terrible. Okay, fair. Why? What's been going on?
I've just been dealing with just bad health problems that I've started to develop. So I've just spent most of my summer so far dealing with appointments and crap like that. So yeah, summer's just been pretty bummer.
Pretty bummer. That's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry to hear that.
Such is life.
It is.
It's how you deal with it that matters.
Yeah,
That is a fair point. Excellent point. Excellent point.
that really does make all the difference.
That's true.
But,
and we'll keep praying and supporting you and coming alongside you where we can, as you let us know about these things. So we can do those things.
Yeah.
That's the caveat right there.
Exactly.
It's true.
That is the
That's the
caveat
hard
right there.
part.
Nah, you got this. You got this. I the tiger. And Dame, how has your summer been, buddy?
Another loaded question. My
All of the
summer
loaded
summer
questions.
has been wild, absolutely wild. So part of the reason this break has taken so long is that I moved.
Yes, you did.
And it wasn't just like down the street moved. It was like literally across the country move, like drive
That's
a
true.
26-foot U-Haul with a trailer behind it type of move. There were several times that I thought I was going to die.
But you didn't,
this summer.
which is super
but I
exciting.
did not. I triumphed, and I am still here, and that's awesome.
Which I'm very glad for.
So the major reason for that move is that I have made a career change.
You did.
Which is a huge thing, which we'll get into a little bit more here. I'm a
Yeah.
real pastor now, guys.
Yes, 'cause the last eight years you weren't.
Boy.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
because
exactly
the last 12-ish years,
Yeah,
I haven't really been I'm a real pastor now. No,
Yeah.
I say that as a running joke because there's this running joke in youth ministry that you're not a real pastor, or there's
Truth.
that very well-meaning people will come along the lines to you and be like, you'll make a great pastor someday, and I'm like, I'm already credentialed. Come on. I'm ordained by a denomination. I have people that have recognized that God's calling is on my life and that there's skills and gifts and graces for this. What more do you want?
Oh man,
but
yeah.
it is funny. Like this is like a completely unexpected change. Again, we'll talk about that, but it's been a really good one and
Yes,
a really welcome one, and not without its hitches in the giddy up, but
Truth.
But again, we'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's been like 3 months or something like that since we really kind of got together and stuff like that. What do you guys been playing for games? Dame, what have you been playing, buddy?
Oh man, well, I've been playing a ton of Destiny. I am two triumphs away from completing some of the I'm blanking on the name. I'm wanting to say Solstice of Heroes, but that's the event that's going on right now for the armor set. But I'm working.
Yes,
I'm working on that right now. But is it Season of Triumph? I think. Anyway, I'm two triumphs away from getting the T-shirt, and that's all I want. I just want to get the T-shirt, and I want to be done with that.
My T-shirt.
How about my T-shirt?
Yeah.
No, but so that's been kind of one of the big staples. Of course, I'm a big Destiny fan, so that's kind of my go-to. But there have actually been two games that I've played that have been absolutely spectacular. If you are a Metroidvania fan, there's a game called Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night.
Oh, so
that
good.
is so well done.
Yeah.
It was produced by the dude who did Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I will give a little bit of a caveat with that. Play on PC if you can. The Switch version, last time I checked, is
Yes,
a
don't
little
do it.
bit on the buggy
It's a little
side.
rough.
Still rough.
Little rough.
Little
Yeah.
rough. So that, and then I just got to play a fantastic stealth game called The Church in the Darkness.
I've heard of that one.
that's right.
Which was really, really neat. Really, really big privilege to be able to review that actually for GameSpace. And also it was funny because the publishing company for the game actually just put out a thing on Twitter, I think last night, that they were like, hey, one of our favorite reviews was written by an actual pastor.
I saw that. That was super exciting.
Cool. That was so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So I
It
kind of
was.
geeked out about that. But the game was fun. Like if you like that kind of classic Metal Gear style game of like kind of sneak in and do the non-lethal takedowns and stuff people in freezers and stuff like that, you can totally do that.
Because why not? Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. And Sarah, what have you been playing all summer long?
I'm gonna cheat because I know which one you're gonna say. So,
Okay, fair.
there's pretty much two. This summer has been amazing for games for me. Dragon Quest Builders 2, I have been obsessed
How
with.
is that?
It's amazing. I love it. Like if the other game that I was gonna talk about didn't come out, I'd still be living that world. Like it is just all the things that bugged me about the first game are all fixed. And it's just such a more cohesive experience that it's just it is so much better. But then Matt asked me about the multiplayer, and I didn't realize when you asked me it is online multiplayer only.
Oh,
There
it
is
is
no
okay.
local co-op, so
Okay, good to know.
that was kind of a downer. So I wanted to play with Lucas, but
Yeah, makes
that
sense.
is not a thing anymore. But the other game I've been playing since it came out was Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is taking my life over. It is bad for me. Like late nights bad for me. So that has just been
So,
awesome.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Damien.
I've never played a Fire Emblem game, but I am familiar
either.
with the series because of Smash Brothers, and that's pretty much the only
As
reason.
most people's like gateway drug to Fire Emblem.
Yeah, like Marth and Roy were like the gateway into knowing what Fire Emblem was. So for somebody who's not initiated into the style of gameplay that Fire Emblem is, I know it's an RPG-ish, tactical-ish
It's a tactical,
sort of.
yeah.
Okay, so.
This is a great place to start, but it's also very different from the other ones, kind of, because this one, it's one great thing is it's all voice acted, and it really depends on how, you have to go through. It's like two phases. There's battling, and it's actually quite easy compared to the other ones. So if you're not good at tactical games, it's quite good for that. But also there's another part of the game where you spend time in the school, the monastery, and you have to raise the stats of your people, like your class, your teacher. So you choose what stats you want to raise, so you can turn them into whatever kind of class you want. And then there's also two other classes, and you can recruit their students too, and they can become part of your team. And everybody has like social links together, so they all have their own little skits that you can listen to, and it goes very deep.
Nice.
But I love just the time they spend going back and forth. Like it just feels so perfect. I don't have to do too long battling. I can just go back to school, and I don't have to spend too long at school and back battling. Like it has been so good. It's always that, I'll just do one more battle. I'll just do one more like social time. It's like it just keeps on going. So
They got you hooked. They got you.
it does. It's got me.
Awesome. That's cool. I have been playing a lot of games over the summer. which I know is a shock and surprise. Actually, a lot on the Switch, which has been great. Like I
and
finally
most of them named Doom.
Most of them named
That's
Doom, which
it.
I'll get to in like 12 seconds. But one that I finally decided to try to play through, which I was playing through until Doom, was Breath of the Wild. I decided I was going to actually sit down and try to get through that, and I've been very focused. And I kind of made a decision early on, and I know the true gamers will be upset, but I decided that I was just going to use walkthroughs when I got stuck because I
Some of
find
those,
with
yeah.
just with open world games in general, I struggle anyway to stay focused. And if I'm going to run into things where like I just have to spend any amount of time focusing on, I'm out.
I have
And
a
it has helped a
5-minute
lot.
rule.
Yeah, exactly, right?
If I'm stuck for
and it
5
has
minutes,
helped a lot.
back.
Yeah, exactly. And it's helped a lot, actually. I've been able to focus in and get a good chunk of the game done, and I'm going to continue doing that. I've got some vacation time coming up, so it'll be
Nice.
all that all the time. And then, yeah, that was going really well. And then I managed to snag a review code for Doom 1, 2, and 3,
Nice.
which I have almost finished all 3 of them in less than a week. So that has been great.
You want to see my
Um,
shocked and surprised face?
I know,
Right.
right?
It's true. It's so good. For our listeners who don't really know, Doom is like it's my jam.
It really
I-
is.
I grew up on Doom. Like I played all of the Doom all of the time growing up. Probably way younger than I should have been, but hey, we didn't have any rules back then. It's fine.
The
and,
ERSB wasn't around then. We didn't
It's
know
true.
any
Yeah, it's
better.
true. Like I predate that, like which is terrible. But anyway, so yeah, so I've been playing through those games, which is just like so much wonderful nostalgia, and I mean mechanically the games work great. They ported them really well. Panic Button did all the ports, and they did a great job with it.
Nice.
So they always
As
do.
they do.
They're really good at porting shooters. I've been thoroughly impressed actually with Doom 3. The port is so clean.
Nice.
I haven't run into any issues at all on the Switch. It's been great, but yeah. So I've been playing a lot of that, which has been great. But the other game actually that I just got into a couple weeks ago was Final Fantasy 14, the MMO. I mean, we've talked in length about this. I am not a Final Fantasy player. I love listening to you guys talk about it, and I love the idea of it. I love the idea of it, but I'd never touched a Final Fantasy game. And then when the MMO came out, I think I tried it. Actually, yeah, I did try it way back in beta. Yeah, and just couldn't get into it. I was like, nah, I'm okay.
The
Thanks.
original beta or the Realm Reborn beta? They're
I
two
think it
separate
was the
things.
Realm Reborn.
Okay,
I think it
I
was
did the
Realm
first
Reborn.
beta, like the
Oh,
original
Sarah.
Final Fantasy 14.
Oh, I'm so sorry for you.
I was in the
It's-
alpha and beta for that one. I was like,
And
I was having fun.
I was about to ask, and you actually came back?
Oh yeah, no. Once I played the beta for actual, like the Realm Reborn, I played that beta. I was pregnant at the time, I remember, and I just was on my maternity leave, and I just sat at home and played with the beta all day.
Noise. Nothing wrong with that. No, it's yeah. I remember like when it first came out, I just couldn't get into it, and I don't know why, but that was probably a million other games on the go. And then recently, Sarah, you had mentioned you were playing again. I was like, oh, I'll try a demo, or I'll try the trial, which I think gets you to like level 30 or 35. And I got to like level 25 on this archer, and I'm like, oh man, I think I'm hooked on this game. So they had a sweet deal for like you could pick up all of it for fairly inexpensive. So I scooped it, and so I've been playing so much Final Fantasy. Like I re-leveled up to like 26 or 27 right now, and then I started leveling fishing because why not?
Fishing is awesome in that game.
It really is
It's so
actually. It's
chill.
funny because I hated fishing in like World of Warcraft, and arguably pretty much any other game that had fishing, I've hated it. But there's
I'm
something
with you there, buddy.
right?
I'm with
oh,
you.
so
Fishing's
true.
fun.
But there's something like super satisfying about the fishing in this game, and I can't figure it out. But it is really
I
satisfying.
have heard of people that like in the original when like the level cap was 50, people would just like as their main job level fishing. Like that's all they would do to get to 50.
But
Where'd your dungeon
why?
run?
But why?
I will
They
play
love
the
it.
role of fisher. It is super satisfying, and I just picked up the culinary stuff too, so I can cook all the fish I've been catching.
Aha, a new recipe.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been, but you know, it's a really unique MMO, and I think that's why I'm finding myself hooked on it. Because I played World of Warcraft forever, and I mean, up until very recently, was still playing it, and just kind of got burned out. So it's like I need a break. So I kind of let my sub roll over, and then kind of jumped into this. And what I like about this is, I mean, there are some of those standard MMO tropes that are there, right? Like your action bar and your tab targeting and all that jazz. But where this game differs, and I love this, is that one character can actually play all of the different jobs or classes for people who know MMOs.
Oh, jobs come later.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, you kind of start with a base class, but then from there, I mean, once you roll level 10, you can pretty much scoop up any of the base classes in the game.
Oh, that's
and then as you progress through the levels, it unlocks new classes, new jobs, those types of things, which is pretty exciting. But what I love about it is, like, I think basically a weapon switch transitions your whole character over. So, like, I can be a level, like, 70 bard, and then be like, hey, I want to learn how to tank, and go talk to the gladiator guild, and basically pick up a sword and a board, and I start at level 1.
Oh, wow.
But what's neat about that is, like, it saves each of your sets as outfits, and so whatever gear you had as a bard or an archer, you just hit save, and that saves it as your archer outfit or your bard outfit. So then you have your gladiator set, and all you have to do is basically click a button, and you flip back over, and now I'm a level 70 whatever. So it's a really seamless, easy system. They don't penalize you. In fact, I think they actually give you bonuses for leveling.
They do.
Different things.
Like if you had like a level 70, you get or whatever your highest level is, you get bonuses for all the other classes that you like start at level 1, and they level faster.
That's how it works. Okay, gotcha.
Like a catch-up mechanic kind of thing.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that, because you're not locked into, hey, I only do this one thing, and I can only do this one thing for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm such an alcoholic on World
Yeah,
of Warcraft.
this is like the alcoholic's dream.
It really is. It really is, because I mean, and Dame, you can attest to this.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, I think every server we ever go on in World of Warcraft, I've got it all maxed out, because I don't like being stuck with one thing to do all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
You're not wrong there.
No,
Actually,
that's true.
it's funny because we joke around about you jumping between games.
yeah.
My wife actually drew up a little cartoon, at one point in time that was like this speed dating scene where it was like, oh, you're perfect for me. You have such great action, and you're so pretty, and I love the crafting and progression in you, and then the next scene is like, oh, you're a sci-fi MMO, and this is what I've been longing for my entire life, and it's just so wonderful. And ding ding, oh, you're World of Warcraft. I remember you. We were in school together.
Right? Oh, so true.
Yeah,
it's so true.
It's really, really funny. But yeah, there's
good.
been this little bit of habit of jumping games, but also jumping
absolutely.
characters too, and such.
Yeah, and that has always been my challenge, is that I don't like doing the same thing for long.
But I think though that one of the things, Matt, that you and I think you and I have talked about this, and we may have talked about this on Roll the Level before, but I think one of the things that's really important to you is progression, like feeling like you're actually moving somewhere and actually doing something or going somewhere. With that, I'll just kind of chime in a little bit with my experience with Final Fantasy 14, because I had like maybe an hour with it.
Yes, absolutely. Give us your literal first impressions.
My literal first impressions were, the music is gorgeous. I love the music in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I think you said that at least 12 times.
I at least said that 12 times.
Every time like the battle came up, it's like, oh yeah, it's awesome.
Yes, this is the jam.
Every time you level up, yeah.
So I definitely love that. I was so overwhelmed with everything that was going on around me that it's just hard to get into it. But it's something that I will probably go back and take a look at. Because I like that idea of leveling one character and being able to swap at any point in time. So then that way, let's say you have gear that you can switch from one to the other. Those skills kind of transition between one thing and the other thing. So
it's true. It's quite handy, actually.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's interesting because as I've been playing this game, it reminds me so much of just like where my life has been. Right, because I have this insane life journey that God has taken me on, and I love that. I love that about God. It's like when you say yes to God, you have no idea where you're going.
Dude,
you have no idea where you're going to end up.
Dude, I tell people all the time that if you've ever thought that the Christian life is boring, you really haven't been living it, because when you say yes to God, like, hold on, because you have no idea what the journey, where the journey is going to take you. It's always good, but it's crazy.
Oh, it is crazy, and and it's interesting because I think what happens sometimes we talk about like, well, God's got a call on my life to this thing, or a call on my life to that thing, and that's very legitimate, and that's a good thing, that because God does call us to a task, God does call us to things based on the way He's made us and our gifting and our skill sets and all that jazz. But I think it's what happens a lot of times is I think we get locked into this mindset that the call means you do the same thing all the time, every time.
Yep.
And if you're not doing that thing, then you must not be serving God. Right. And I've talked to a lot of people who really struggle with this. Like, oh man, I can't serve God because I'm not doing X, whatever that X is for them. And it's funny because Final Fantasy is really just, it's kind of brought back to my mind this idea that a call isn't really about your situation or your title or your position. It's about your lifestyle of mission, if that makes sense. Like we get so caught up in that, well, I have to be doing this thing in order to be serving God. But biblically, I mean, Colossians talks about this thing, right? Like everything you do, everything in life you do, if it's working a tech job, if it's working as a plumber, if it's working as a worship leader, if it's working, fill in the blank, you do it as if you're doing it to the Lord. There's an intentionality about how we're supposed to live. And I think it's very easy to get discouraged when we don't think we're living in the call. But I don't know. Like, have you guys ever experienced that or felt that? Or what do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to jump in here, Sarah. You looked like you were kind of getting ready to say
I'm
something.
putting my thoughts together.
Okay.
So you go ahead.
I'll go ahead and jump in while you
You puzzle.
navigate the puzzle
Exactly.
pieces. Yeah, absolutely. That was something that I wrestled with a lot this year. Matt, you and I had several conversations offline.
And in person.
And in person, because we actually
Yeah.
got to hang out together, which was
So good.
amazing.
I'm sure we'll talk about that in another episode.
We will. But one of the things that I really wrestled with was if this step right now, and just to kind of, I can't remember whether or not I shared at all about resigning or moving on or anything like that via Roll the Level.
Yeah, I know you've touched on it briefly. I
touched on it briefly. So I went through a season where I was actually preparing for a sabbatical. One of the things that's really great about the denomination that I serve in is that there's a recommendation that a pastor take a sabbatical every 7 years, that they're in a position. And so I'd been at this church for 8 years. And so I'd started the conversation and started pursuing a sabbatical. And in the midst of that, there were all sorts of questions that came up about the future and things that were going on. There was just a restlessness of like, well, there are all of these things that are going on that God is doing like uniquely and strategically, and I don't understand them, but there has to be something that's here. Everything from like the gaming stuff that we were doing with GameSpace and MMORPG and stuff with Roll the Level and all of that stuff. And I'm going, there's got to be something here. There's got to be something more than what I'm doing. And not that I wasn't satisfied in the work that I was doing. Things were going very, very well with the discipleship ministry that we had started. And so I just found myself in this place where I was just wrestling through this stuff. And then there were some conversations that were like, it's time to step out and explore what God has for you in this next season of life. And there was a scary part of that, whereas I wasn't even sure that was vocational ministry.
I remember that.
And and the panic in me was like, well, am I not going to be, I know God has this calling on my life and I'm ordained, and I have this denomination that's like put this like, I don't want to say pressure, but kind of put this like understanding in me that like God has given you gifts and graces for ministry, and so you ought to be doing something with that. And I'm thinking through all of the parables of of people who are given a gift or given a thing and a task to use it, and I'm all of these things are going through my brain, and I'm going, what do I do with this? What do I do with all of this information? And I remember there was a conversation that I had with a dude named David Drury. And David is he works for the Wesleyan Church, but he also has this network of like these what I guess they're called micro churches. They're just these little pockets of believers that get together in each other's homes and they're discipling each other and stuff like that. But he's like involved in a couple of these different spaces.
Okay.
And
sounds like a life group to me.
kind of. But I think I don't want to get into like all of
No,
it.
you're good. You're good.
I don't fully understand all of it from the one conversation that we had, but it sounded really interesting. And so like there's part of me that was thinking, okay, well, is there something there? But in that conversation, like I brought up that question of calling, and he was just like, dude, you need to like step back and look at your theology here, because like you were never created for a job. You're not created for an occupation. You're created to be in relationship with God. And and of course, as a pastor, I know this, right? Because you know everything as a pastor. You know all of Scripture, you know, forwards and backwards, and you have it all memorized and can pull verses out from. No,
that's what I think.
Well, let me shatter the illusion for you. Let me tell you that Santa Claus isn't real.
Oh,
sorry, kids. Sorry, kids.
Hurt my heart.
No, I mean, like I found myself in this place where I had to be reminded of that very basic truth that God is, yes, God has designed me uniquely with a skill set and gifts mix and passions, like my mission, quest, and thing. But he's called me to himself first, before any of that, because what good is a job? What good is a role like that if my first priority isn't my relationship with God? I mean, I don't know, like maybe I'm weird, but shouldn't that be first?
I totally agree, and I think that's the trouble we run into, especially in North America. We get so caught up in the titles and the positions and the and all this stuff, and we forget what we're built for. The reality is that the titles come, they go, the jobs come, they go, but the one thing that remains is the relationship with God and the mission He's called us to.
And that's really like at the heart of this transition that I went through here in these last couple of months. There was an opportunity that came along to pastor a church in North Carolina, which, by the way, Jimmy, if you're listening, hi. Hi, Jimmy. One of the guys on my board, actually a couple of the guys on my board, Jimmy and Tyler. Hey, Tyler. They started listening to the podcast, which is really cool. And like every week, he's like, "Hey, man, are you going to start? When are you starting it back up?"
Here you go.
Awesome.
The time is now.
The day has come.
Yeah.
But anyway. Where was I going with that? Oh, yeah, the change. Apologize, guys. I'm just so excited to be talking to you.
I know, right?
It's true. It's been too long.
So, like, with this change with me, this opportunity came along, and, like, as I'm, like, praying through this, and God is, like, He's doing all of these crazy things, which I can't explain, like, as all of this came together. Maybe I'll share this story in a little bit more detail sometime, but... But as all of those things came along, like, I couldn't help but see God in it. And so one of the things I learned in ministry early on, which ties really directly into this concept of God calling us to Himself first, is that when the Spirit of God is moving in a direction, like, don't invent other things to do. Follow where the Spirit of God is leading, because you will always find better things in those places.
I agree. Sarah, for you, like, have you had those experiences of I don't know, of either realizing that you've got to take this time and leverage it for God, or find yourself in places you never thought you'd been, going, okay, God, what are you doing?
Probably, like, I probably had those moments a bunch before I would say I became, like, a Christian.
Yeah.
Which is really weird to say, I guess, but, like, I always had an understanding that God was always there, but nothing really, spoke to me, kind of. I would say, I don't know, this sounds weird, but
no, you're good.
like, my like once I got married and everything, told myself or it was agreed upon that we weren't going to have kids. Like that was just a thing.
Yeah.
So then one day, like after we were settled, it's like, okay, something told me that it is time to have a kid. And it's like, no, that's okay. I'm enjoying like just having my time to myself. But it was like put upon me heavily on my heart that I have to have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to become a mom. Something I didn't want to do, something that scares the crap out of me. Like I am not loving in the slightest. Like I am hardcore. So, like it was a really weird thing for me, but God was working in a way that I didn't expect. Like, because I was a mom, or because I am a mom, I have had so many different relationships come through it. I've seen God work through Lucas, and the amazing, like, he's a smarty pants. I didn't make him a smarty pants. Only God could have made him with this crazy, stupid, amazing brain he has, and just some like little things that'll set off. Or like, I came to God because of relationships I made at church through kids. And like having my sisters over more and asking them questions that I never had before that were put on my heart. So like the way that it all happenstance, it was just crazy. You never think it will work that way. Having a kid, like I don't recommend it to everybody. But it was just.
I don't recommend you do this. But
you could be a cat mommy forever, like I wanted to be. But it was definitely something that every day I remember that. Like, it's just amazing the places I've gone and been because of Lucas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was definitely probably my most major experience.
That's so cool. And, I mean, Lucas is an incredible kid, and you're doing an awesome job as a mom. So I think it worked out all right.
People say that. I'm just like, but you don't understand. Like, I am like a drill sergeant.
No,
like,
that's
he's doing, like, math. He does long division. Like,
it's because I'm pretty sure he's genius level awesome, so it's good. But
I have a hard time loving, but we're still working on that one. We're still working.
You got this. I believe in you.
You know what? That's parenting. I think that phrase "we're still working on it" just applies to parenting in general.
I've had almost 6 years of experience now. It's crazy.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is every year it's new. So that's the thing about parenting,
that's true.
right? Like, there's never a moment where you're like, "Oh, I got this figured out," because every year is new.
Yeah, it's like I think right before he turned 6, I got this.
And then 6 rolls, right? So,
I don't got this. I don't got this.
That's all right, because that's a whole discussion on dependency on God, but we'll go there some other day. But you know, I think the biggest thing to pull out in all of this, and guys, thanks so much for sharing, because there's some great stories.
Well, before you go too much further, you, sir, have had several things that have gone on in this realm too. So I think it's only fair that you share a little bit about what's been going on with you.
I mean, I'll give the very short version because, again, I want to kind of honor our time. But yeah, I've over the last 2 years, and I've spoke to some elements of this. I've gone through a lot of transition. I stepped away from ministry, took a self-imposed sabbatical after some really rough ministries. Spent 1.5 years working just a tech job, and you know what? It was awesome. It was so recharging. I worked in a secular environment. I worked with none of the guys, with the exception of one guy, even professed Christ. A lot of them are very much against the idea of Jesus. And then this pastor was coming to work with them, and they were all freaked out and thought they were all going to burn because I showed up. Had some great conversations with the guys. They're awesome. But you know, it's interesting because in the midst of that time, I was reminded of this very thing. Like, what are you doing with where God has put you? You know, because sometimes where God puts you is not the job you think you're supposed to be doing. And if we get too caught up in looking at the job we think we're supposed to be doing, it's very easy to put our worth and our value in that job, right? Our identity gets wrapped up in the job. And we lose sight of what's actually important, and it's that obedience to Christ's call in our life. And that's to love him and love others. Yeah. And my time kind of on that sabbatical, that time working with those guys, and I absolutely love those guys to death, it really reminded me that my call has nothing to do with where I'm standing. It has everything to do with my mindset for the mission and leveraging every opportunity as an opportunity to show Jesus to people. And you know, and crazily enough, here I am, like 1.5 years later, I'm now working at arguably the best church experience. Not even arguably, it is the best church experience I've ever had in my life. It's an incredible church. I just got to baptize my neighbor last Sunday, which was amazing.
Nice.
So
That
good.
was
After like
awesome.
4 years of praying and ministering to her, she
That's
man, we were
awesome.
dunking her. And the coolest part about that was that it's the first time Tara and I have ever been able to baptize someone together.
Oh,
That
that's
was
so
amazing.
good.
Like that to me was just over the moon amazing. Like there were a lot of tears, and I think most of them were because of that for me, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm super excited that my neighbor's in the kingdom and that we're on mission together and all that stuff. But it was just so cool to me that my wife and I got to minister to this young lady together and got to serve her together and got to baptize her together. Like, wow. Hashtag
dude.
life goal.
Yeah,
That's
dude.
awesome. Check that
That's-
off the bucket list.
That's so awesome. That's so good.
So you know, I say all that to say that, you know, if you keep your focus on God and what He's doing, and not on all this other stuff, and allow God to take you on the crazy journey He's going to take you on, He will lead you through incredible things. You will go through rough things, absolutely, but He will take you through some incredible things, and you'll look back at it and say it's only because of God, right? I mean, that is a life on mission, is when you can look back and say, yep, if God hadn't done this, none of this would have happened.
You know,
And-
there's an
yeah.
interesting point of view that Bailey and I have walked in ministry with for the last several years, and that is that we're like potted plants, right?
Yeah.
And if God is like the gardener, you know, which Jesus talks about God being a good gardener, then in his impeccable wisdom and in exceptional plant husbandry, there are those moments where not only are those pruning seasons of things where like they're hard things where things are
Yeah.
kind of cut out or trimmed up or whatever, but then there are those other times where we're moved from one garden to the next, and while we may not understand it, it's always for our good, and it's always for His glory, and it's always for the benefit of other people too. And while we don't see that on the onset of it, those are the things that we become confident in, is that, okay, well, God is always consistent, right? So if this is who He is, then there must be things that He's doing or that He's preparing, or there's a place that that we need and that we're needed and stuff like that. And there will always be benefit to it. Like even now, like I'm 3 weeks into being in this new place, and there are some experiences that I look back to that I went through in the past that I'm going, oh yeah, like 10 years later, that's why that was a thing.
Yeah, true.
And so like I'm getting to see that, and I guess that's age. Like I guess that's age and experience that does that, which is weird to say that.
Yeah, it means we're getting old.
We're getting old.
It's true, it's true.
But you know, I have to trust that if we're doing the thing that God has designed us to do, then he's gonna be good to His word, and He's gonna be good to His character, and that you can take to the bank.
Truth.
Cha-ching.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. It was so good to get caught back up.
Always.
So good. We need to do this more often, maybe once a week.
Something like
that'd be
that.
good.
Maybe we should look into that. Maybe start a podcast or something.
Right. Yeah, it could be fun.
Could be good.
Yeah, exactly. But to our listeners, thank you so much for hanging in there. We needed a break because just life happened, and it was great and crazy and hard and awesome. But we are so excited to be back and to be able to share kind of our experience with Life God and video games in no particular order. But make sure to like and subscribe to all of the things, our podcast, and hopefully to this video cast if it works properly. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. It's fine. But
You really don't have to watch it.
exactly next time. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Rule the Level, and we'll talk to you later.